Breaking tonight, Prime Minister Netanyahu has effectively told Britain's leader not to come, and what followed in the next 48 hours set off the most serious constitutional showdown between the monarch and his own government in modern British history. Intelligence sharing halted. Security frameworks fell apart. And the royal family made a move they have avoided for decades. If you think this is a routine diplomatic dispute, what you're about to hear shows why this moment changes everything. I'll walk you through what is unfolding right now, and why it matters to anyone concerned about Western security. Make sure you're subscribed, because this situation is evolving faster than analysts expected. 7:42 a.m. London time. Israel's foreign ministry issues a statement that sends shockwaves through Whitehall. Prime Minister Netanyahu does not consider current conditions conducive to productive dialogue with British leadership. There's no diplomatic softening, no attempt to propose a future date, not even an alternative channel. The meeting had been scheduled. Security plans were in place. Ministerial-level agendas were approved. And then, in the most public way possible, Israel cancelled everything. But here's what the public statement didn't mention. According to senior diplomatic figures with direct insight into the communications, Netanyahu sent a private message through secure channels that was far more blunt. He told Keir Starmer's team he would not give legitimacy to what he described as a hostile position by engaging formally. Then he added a warning that stunned British intelligence officials. All intelligence sharing agreements would be re-evaluated. This wasn't just a cancelled high-level visit. It was the sudden breakdown of a 75-year intelligence partnership. Within 51 minutes, the Cabinet Secretary convenes Britain's top emergency committee for a COBR meeting. Foreign Secretary David Lammy arrives looking visibly shaken. Intelligence leaders brief officials on the immediate damage. A ministerial aide, authorized to describe the session, recalls Lammy's exact words. This goes beyond diplomatic embarrassment. We are facing possible intelligence blackouts across multiple theaters where British personnel are deployed. Military commanders begin re-examining force protection protocols. Several senior officers state clearly that security is now compromised in at least 3 operational areas. British troops and intelligence officers in hostile regions may have just lost an essential intelligence pipeline. Then an unexpected development raises the stakes. King Charles, acting in his capacity as head of state, formally requests a Privy Council briefing on the security situation. This is his constitutional right. As sovereign, he is entitled to updates on matters affecting national security. Downing Street refuses. Their position, foreign policy is strictly the domain of ministers. Read that again. The government tells the king he cannot receive security briefings during a national security crisis. The constitutional crisis ignites instantly. As government lawyers debate who is entitled to classified information, British Jews watch a more personal drama unfold. Rabbi Michael Goldstein, 68, who has spent decades building interfaith relationships in North London, speaks outside his synagogue with clear concern. Many in our community already feel vulnerable as incidents rise. When the UK's relationship with Israel deteriorates, those worries grow considerably. Across Manchester, Leeds, and London, Jewish families with deep ties to Israel express the same fear. Diplomatic protection is weakening. Anti-Israel campus groups cheer the political rupture. Activists who pushed for parliamentary criticism of Israel gain new influence. The divide is stark. While some welcome a distancing from Israel, many British Jews feel increasingly unsafe. For them, this is not abstract geopolitics, it's about personal security. 2:27 p.m., Buckingham Palace takes an extraordinary step. The King's private secretary releases an official statement invoking constitutional authority not used in decades. His Majesty has directed that he be properly informed on all matters affecting the security of the realm, as established through constitutional convention and the sovereign's right to be consulted, to encourage and to warn. Every word is intentional. Every phrase carries constitutional weight. Then comes the final paragraph, the one that makes constitutional experts take notice. The palace expresses grave concern about any attempts to restrict long-established channels of information relating to national security. Professor Jonathan Richardson of Oxford University calls the moment constitutionally seismic. Royal historians describe it as unprecedented, a direct public challenge from the monarchy to the government. Urgent calls between Downing Street and Buckingham Palace fail to resolve the issue. The constitutional confrontation is no longer behind closed doors. It is now fully public, with the King openly opposing the Prime Minister. Opposition leaders quickly rally behind the monarchy's position. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak warns. This government is undermining constitutional arrangements that have carried this nation through world wars and international crises. But the most damaging criticism comes from Labour's own side. Former Attorney General Lord Falconer notes that constitutional norms clearly grant the sovereign the right to be informed about security matters, and restricting that right is a dangerous departure. Defence Secretary John Healey declines to support Downing Street's stance when questioned by reporters. Cabinet unity fractures in real time. A new overnight poll shows public opinion shifting dramatically. 71% of the public believes the King should receive security briefings. Government approval for handling of constitutional matters falls from 48% to 29% in just 24 hours. Royal approval rises to 72%. For the first time in modern history, the monarchy and government are in direct constitutional conflict, and the public is siding with the Crown. And the story gets even more serious. Classified diplomatic documents, shared by senior political sources and dated just 4 days ago, reveal the underlying reason Netanyahu rejected the meeting. Israeli intelligence reportedly intercepted what it saw as unauthorized back-channel communications between junior UK Foreign Office staff and representatives of groups Israel considers hostile. A 17-page intelligence report shared through formal channels alleges that British diplomatic personnel engaged in unofficial diplomatic activity without approval, potentially contradicting official British policy. Israel assessed this as either a hidden institutional policy contradicting stated positions, or a foreign office acting outside its chain of command. Once this intelligence reached Downing Street 3 days ago, the government launched internal investigations instead of clarifying the issue with Israel. If authentic, this suggests Netanyahu's decision was not emotional, it was a calculated response to what Israel viewed as a breakdown inside Britain's foreign policy system. The consequences are enormous. Britain's diplomatic credibility and reliability as an intelligence partner come into question. The shock spreads rapidly through allied intelligence networks. U.S. officials express private concern about Five Eyes intelligence sharing if even the monarch is blocked from receiving security briefings. Australian and Canadian officials, whose systems mirror the UK's constitutional monarchy, are alarmed at the precedent. NATO security planners review information protocols. Middle Eastern partners with ties to both the UK and Israel are suddenly placed in an impossible position. Gulf states quietly postpone meetings with British ministers. Egypt delays a planned security agreement. Jordan's foreign minister cancels a London visit without explanation. Diplomatic isolation intensifies. Years of relationship building across the Middle East risk collapsing. Defense industry leaders report that Israeli partners are freezing joint projects worth billions. Technology firms with Israeli links face contract reviews. Investment funds focused on UK-Israel innovation warn of capital outflows. Treasury estimates show the combined economic fallout across defense, tech, and cybersecurity could exceed £17 billion in the first year alone. Britain is no longer just facing a constitutional and diplomatic crisis, but a deep economic shock in high-value sectors, where Israeli cooperation has been essential. Inside Downing Street, internal division replaces normal governance. Senior staff split into two camps, one urging immediate restoration of royal information channels, the other, largely progressive advisers, insisting on strict separation between government and monarchy. Victoria Richards, a constitutional advisor present at key discussions, describes a turning point. Legal teams were presenting opposing interpretations. Then the Prime Minister said, "We may have created a precedent we didn't intend." Cabinet Secretary Simon Case warns. This goes beyond the immediate situation. We may be altering constitutional arrangements that have developed over centuries. National Security Advisor Stephen Lovegrove reportedly refuses to enforce the information restrictions, saying, "My oath is to the Crown as well as the government." A leaked Cabinet Office report shows civil servants researching historic cases of constitutional disputes between the monarchy and government, situations not examined outside academic circles for generations. The government is no longer merely managing a foreign policy dispute, it is navigating uncharted constitutional territory. While Starmer's government tries to justify limiting royal access, King Charles positions himself as the defender of constitutional continuity. A palace spokesperson, during a royal engagement, states, "The monarchy exists in part to maintain stability during periods of political challenge. His Majesty takes this role seriously." The public sees the contrast, government officials scrambling to defend an unusual decision, the monarch calmly emphasizing long-standing constitutional principles. For the first time in decades, a full-scale constitutional confrontation has emerged, with the public firmly on the side of the Crown. Experts say this could reshape how Britain's unwritten constitution operates during major crises. The political landscape shifts rapidly. Opposition parties unite around constitutional safeguards. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak portrays his party as protectors of institutional stability. Liberal Democrats stress the importance of checks and balances. Even traditional Labour supporters express concern. The government becomes increasingly isolated, backed mainly by the most progressive wing of the party. Analysts say this could realign British politics, forming new alliances around constitutional traditionalism that cut across old left-right divides. What began as a diplomatic incident now looks like the start of a political transformation with long-lasting implications. The next 48 hours will be decisive for the UK's constitutional future. The Cabinet Office forms a dedicated constitutional response unit. The Privy Council Office reviews historical precedents. Parliamentary committees call for emergency sessions. Intelligence leaders assess the operational impact of reduced Israeli cooperation. Military planners activate contingency measures for regions reliant on Israeli intelligence. Britain is experiencing its most serious challenge to constitutional norms in living memory. This moment will likely become a central case study for future constitutional law students examining how Britain's unwritten system responds to modern security threats. At the heart of it all lies one fundamental question. Who has the right to safeguard national security information during an international crisis, the elected government or the constitutional monarch? So now you decide. Is the Starmer government justified in restricting the King's access to security briefings? Or does the monarchy have an essential constitutional right to information affecting national security? Did Netanyahu's rejection expose deeper issues in Britain's foreign policy establishment? Or is Israel overreacting to legitimate parliamentary criticism? And crucially, has this confrontation permanently damaged Britain's diplomatic standing? Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every one, and the discussions there are often more insightful than mainstream coverage. If this breakdown helped you see the full picture, pass it on to someone who needs to understand how constitutional norms and international security intersect, a perspective most outlets won't offer. Because here's the truth, mainstream media will report the visible drama, the cancelled meeting, the royal statement, the poll numbers. But they won't connect the dots between unauthorized diplomatic contacts, intelligence failures, and constitutional precedent that could redefine how Britain functions for decades. We will. In the next video, we'll examine exactly how Israeli intelligence cooperation has historically protected British lives, what its loss means for current operations, and why intelligence officials are far more worried than they are publicly admitting. The battle for Britain's constitutional order, and its role in Western security, is only beginning.